Good afternoon, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here with all of you from different parts of the world. My name is Leo Bird. I'm a researcher with the MIT Media Lab, and I also direct the Brazilian Creative Learning Network in Brazil. I'm going to pass the ball to Carolina.
Hi, everyone. I'm in Brazil, and I work with Leo in the Brazilian Creative Learning Network, and also with RuPaul and Leo in the Lifelong Kindergarten group at the MIT Media Lab. It's a pleasure to be here today. And I'll pass it to RuPaul.
Thank you. Hi, friends. It's so wonderful to be in this space with you, people joining from all over the place. So yes, good morning, good early morning, good afternoon, good evening. So excited to get to play with my friends Leo and Carolina this morning. As I mentioned, we are members of the Lifelong Kindergarten group at the MIT Media Lab, and in my role there, I get to work with people and partner with people all over the world to deepen and broaden the presence of creative learning. And so really excited today for us to dive deeper into ways to bring creative learning to home. I think given the current global situation, that's something that we've all been thinking a lot about. And we're excited today to spend some time sharing some of the things we've been trying and learning, and also get you to try something out at home as well. So in a few minutes, we're going to share an invitation, and we're going to ask you to start your day or end your day, whatever time it is for you, to gather materials and to create alongside of us. There's only 3 of us on the screen, but you're all in this space with us, so thank you for joining us. We'll be asking you to comment in the chat and share more about your stories. And then we'll all share some of our stories from the work that we've been doing and save some time at the end for any questions that you may have. So lots to do, lots of fun to have had, and excited to get into it with everyone. And I'll be managing the slides for our team. But if there's anything else, I think we can get started.
Hey, thanks, RuPaul. So everyone, to start this session, we're gonna invite all of you to gather with us and to create something, to make something as an activity that we love to do together. It's like I think it's the second or third time that we have been doing this, and it's always so different, so special. And today we're going to invite you to think of a memorable learning experience that you had in your life or that you're having right now. So, anything that was really meaningful to you, the experience that you had, something that stuck with you in your something from your childhood, something that you lived at school, something that you had that you lived in a vacation experience with your family or at home or even with your friends, maybe in high school or college, like the formal and non-formal learning. But the idea is to, try to reflect a little bit and try to remember those moments that were really, really meaningful to us. And then we're gonna to try to represent what the moment was or the feeling that we had when we were going through that situation. And so you're very welcome to, we're going to ask you now to gather some materials, to look, in your kitchen, in your room, in your living room, any place you have in the house, and different objects and things that you already have in order to do that. So first, to start, we always like to bring examples, and I'm going to invite now RuPaul and Leo and ask you guys, what was a memorable learning experience that you had, and how would you represent that? I see you're ready.
I know. I see Leo's putting up material. I also just wanted to share, I went around my house today, so this is, I found some berries. My daughter really loves berries. I mashed them up, and then I found this Q-tip in my bathroom. So just like that, I have some desi papadums. So these are like special frying things that we eat during festival time that are so colorful and fun to create things with. And some cookies for crafting and maybe a snack, but cookies and like cans of spaghetti, all sorts of things like around our homes that we can use to create things with. And I know, Leo, I saw you putting up some things where you found some material.
Yeah. I'm so curious about that.
Yeah, I went to the kitchen and I found some old boxes, for pancake mix. And we found some popsicle sticks and a pair of scissors and of tape and some random stuff. I also got some old magazines and newspapers. I found some other paper that was fun to play with. Yeah, so generic stuff.
So it's
Cool.
nice.
Nice.
Sorry, go ahead, Carolina.
No, I mean, I know you have a bunch of materials, but I want to know a little bit, like, what stories would you represent? We have made this activity before, and do you have some examples to show and to share right now?
Yeah, so this is a little berry painting I made with this berry juice in the kitchen. So this is a representation. When you asked about a learning moment that stuck with me, I was thinking about a moment more recently, actually. And so I learned how to ride a bike only in the last few years. And it was a very, scary thing for me to try to learn, but something I really wanted to learn. I was very passionate about, figuring this thing out. And my awesome partner, he really, was patient with me, broke it down into steps, and made me feel confident. And now I love riding my bike. I find my bike to be this very, freeing way of looking and observing things around my neighborhood. And every time I get on my bike, I feel more confident in myself. And my bike is also very special to me because it was given by some students that I had. I used to teach in the classroom, and my fourth graders in California actually gave me this bike. They wanted me to kind of do this thing I'd always wanted to do. So it's a very special thing to me. And when I think about something that has stuck, that means a lot to me, this getting over my fear. So many people invested in me learning this thing. My bike is very special to me. And again, I just took some berries and a Q-tip, and I just painted it earlier today. So there's my bike.
I love your example, RuPaul, and how you represent that, and also telling the story with so many connections amongst your community, with your students and also with your family. Leo, do you have an example for us? Or we just should start creating together?
I think we should all start creating. I have some ideas from when I was in second grade that I like, but I think if people had some time just to grab some materials, can be just like a pen or a pencil, if you have boxes or stuff, feel free to also bring them to your table. It can be a little messy, but it's also super fun.
Yeah, and RuPaul did this drawing and painting, but we could do a collage, a drawing, we could craft a little bit, or any other thing that you'd like. So you're very welcome to do it, and also share it in the chat. Oh, I have this material here, and I'm thinking of, this learning moment that I have, and so you're very welcome to share this in the chat right now with us while we all create together.
Yeah, I'm really curious. Type into the chat, what's something that you are going to try to make something with today? I'm curious to see what people are finding around their home. I think one time
we're interested in curious or unexpected uses of everyday materials too. Sometimes we see things with different eyes, opens up. Carl, what do you think you're going to be working on?
So I'm thinking of, I think of a lot of learning experience, but I always think of the things that at some point I learned, and that sticks with me for life. And one of the things is photograph. I really like to document things, and especially people. And I don't know, this is something that I always had. And having a conversation with RuPaul and Leo the other day about this session, I realized that I started photographing when I was at school, like I was in 6th grade, and I was really interesting. I don't know. I was always a shy. I was always a shy girl. You know, I wouldn't talk a lot, but I was always observing people and admiring people around me, my friends, my family, and other, people in my community. And then I realized, like, I saw this kid drawing his superheroes once, like, and I thought that was incredible. He's representing people that he really admires, and I want to try that. So I started drawing too, and I have some drawing here to show, just to illustrate that and saying, and I don't know, saying yes, that is true. I started drawing like people from my family, like this is my cousin. Like, you can see that it's really old, because at some point, I don't know why, I thought it was going to be a good idea to take this on the wall. It just ruined my art. And then and my grandfather, at some point, I started drawing him, like, with his specific, and then I was like, in school, I draw like my colleagues and how they were usually, like, trying to get a little bit of their personalities and putting this into documentation. And then at some point, I had the opportunity to finally have a camera. I was always interested in pictures, because I was thinking, oh, this is the representation of the past, of the history of how people were, and the time that they were living in. And that was always fascinating to me. So when I had the opportunity to have a camera and to use it, I just dropped the drawing part of my talent and started to take, to shoot photographs of people. And I've been doing this since then. And I think that, and I was also wondering, like, what have I possibly, learned that was connected to who I am today, even professionally, right? And one of the things that I was thinking of is that I still love to document things, and every time that I go to an event or that I have to design an experience for students or teachers, I think of, how is this going to look in practice? How is this going to look like in practice? How are they going to feel? Who are these people? What they love about, what kind of things are interesting to them? And I think this might have, a connection with this interest that I have of these lenses, that I have been using since I am a child, to look to the world in a interested way. I don't know. It's just like I'm just having my own travel here, but I guess that could be. So I'm thinking of like creating this. I actually started something, thinking of creating this, I don't know, camera or something, but not just a camera, something that could represent people's stories as well. So maybe, I got this top of a can, that I have a coffee can, and then I'm trying to, I'm going to use it as a lens. And here it's not going to be like only about photos, of course, because it's like it's a craft thing. But maybe I'm going to, like, I don't know, write a phrase that represents someone. I'm thinking of, I don't know, still thinking of that, but that could be my project. I'm wondering what you are thinking. Oh, sorry.
I was going to say, I like the shininess too, because it's reflective. It's kind of like a mirror too. So like when you're taking a picture of reflecting a mirror back on someone, and I'm seeing people are like, we have Melanie's written something for us in this chapter.
Yeah.
And he says, a lot of my learning experiences involve my friends and family. And I think that's come up in some of the ones that we've shared. So she was looking at photographs of her family and friends right before, Carolina, you mentioned your photos. And she has a collage of her family and friends, and it would be nice to represent that as a representation of a learning experience. So yeah, photos and again, having people involved, like the people that are involved in these experiences are really great. And Leo, what are you working on over there?
So I was remembering this experience that I had in 2nd grade. I was in Brazil, in São Paulo, very large city, and in a studying in a public school, and the teacher asked us to create some sort of album or our own guide book or guided tour for the city of São Paulo, and encourage us to either go to visit the places that we like the most in the city and take a picture there, or make a collage using pictures or drawings from magazines or other materials. And I remember my parents were super supportive, and we decided to take the weekend to go visit, these different landmarks of the city that were very special to me, like visit the airport, an ice cream parlor, like the soccer stadium, other places, and we took pictures of me in front of each one of those places, and it was really cool. And then we got a notebook and pasted the pictures, and I wrote something there, and that was very memorable. And unfortunately, I lost that album somehow. And I'll try to represent something like that here, very quickly to see. Let's see what comes out. Yes. How is it going?
Well, I'm curious. I don't know. We've heard from Melanie if others, want to share even some of the materials you're working with, or some of the ideas you have. What's sparking for you? What are some moments of learning that really work for you? I am trying to create a wagon to represent this moment in my that really came to me when you were talking about something that stuck with you. So when I was in 4th grade, I think, we, as a class, put on a play. We were learning about westward expansion. The Oregon Trail was a popular game that had come out, and we were learning about that. We were learning about it in history class, in our social studies classes. We were reading stories about people in our reading groups. And then in art, we started to build the sets for the play. And in music, we were learning the songs. And so I'm trying to kind of make a little covered wagon. Those covered wagons they would have? So I'm trying to do something like that.
Wow.
Chris says, I love objects that move and become their own thing, breathing life into an object. Beautiful, Chris. I wonder if you could tell us more about what you've made or materials you use and what you're trying to represent with some of these things. Playing with strawberries and microbits. Cool. Yeah, those are fun things to play with.
Okay, I have a prototype. and this would be the flashlight, but it's so tall. I don't know if this is reality, but it's fine. Now I should give it some more meaningful thing.
And people are playing
I really like
technology and stuff. It's very cool to see what's going on there.
I really like Melanie's idea of the college with photos, and I'm wondering at maybe improving this at some point. Maybe not today because we won't have the time. But using also photos of my family, making it really small and putting it over here, and mixing with drawing maybe, or trying to draw again and put it here.
Yes,
that would be nice too.
trying to draw again. I love that, Carolina. I want to.
It's gonna be a mess, but I can try. Yeah.
I'm always impressed when we do this sort of activity, to think about how powerful these little learning moments are in our lives. Remembering things that happened 30 years ago or 20 years ago or so. That this 1 hour, in one particular class, that had an impact in so many other things that we do, where we are many years later. That still carry with us. It's not that we have to be doing these things 100% of the time, or and very sophisticated stuff. But there's something in these activities, that connect with us in some interesting ways.
Yeah.
We should never underestimate the power.
Yeah. I think too about how these memorable learning experiences have shaped me as an educator, the kinds of things I try to design with the students and the kinds of memories I want them to have. I see Lisa here saying that she grew up in Utah and learned a lot about pioneers who took wagons across the country to establish new life. So resonating with wagon. I don't know.
Wow, this is a big project. I want to see it.
So big plans around the house these days, you know? What are you going to do? As we're finishing our learning experiences, it'd be great to hear from others. What other memorable learning experiences did you have when you think about something that has stuck with you, either something you've experienced, you know, as an adult, or as parents did in school or out of school? Maybe it was something that happened with your family in the kitchen time, or at camp. We'd love to hear from it. Even though the three of us are on screen, we know you're all baking at home, and we're curious to know what you're making too.
And we love half-baked projects.
Yeah.
Yes, mine is totally half-baked.
Yeah. So in my case, what was starting as a guide or a tourist guide to the city, as I couldn't find like proper paper, and then I had some wire. I started turning into like a 3D model. So I got like a piece of cardboard or like a notebook, and then I pasted a map of the city, and then I had some pictures of different places, you know, and I started making my own map of Boston here. Super high tech, as you can see. You know, fully recyclable.
This is
I
really
had
nice.
some technology that, like, but I don't know.
Is this a real map of Boston, Leo?
I found a real map of Boston. Right here, like, but it doesn't need to be. We can even draw, you know, some sort of representation of the neighborhood or the country or some imaginary planet, and go and I have some LEDs. I just happen to, you know, like a little lights with a battery. I might attach to my model just to make it a little more sparkly, but it might get too heavy for my son.
I'm thinking the one thing I forgot to go into was my daughter's room. I need a horse for my wagon.
Ooh.
But wow, Lynn, I love the three-dimensionality of that. That's so interesting. I love it.
Yeah.
I have a little llama here. I don't know if you can use it in your model.
Okay, yeah. Can you pass the llama to me? Maybe in a few years. I don't know. Oh yeah, and there's someone saying that, you know, they wanted to maybe share. I think that you know, if you wanted to come on screen and share, I think we could figure that out.
Yeah.
And Megan is typing in the chat now. My best friend and childhood playmate was Ginger. We explored a lot. Her dad was a commercial artist. Wow, what a cool thing. He would take us to his studio in Chicago in a warehouse, and we would have the run of the place where there were tons of plants and large boards and splashes of paint. Not plants, and splashes of paint. He gave us artistic freedom to explore. I learned here about the power of the arts and the wild possibilities of expression with color and texture. It was a significant learning experience for me informally. Wow, that's so cool. Thank you.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
I'm hearing, like, also just like the fact that you were there with your friends, and you were kind of doing this in like a playful way, and then the openness, like, to be expressive. I think that's also was really cool about your story. And thank you for sharing that. Okay, and Lisa is reminding us, if you'd like to show what you're making, you can request to share your audio video, and then she can help move you into this space. So, yeah, if that's something that you are interested in, we'd love to see what you're making. And then we're kind of coming up on some time. I don't know if it's a place where we should pause and kind of also just chat more about our little representations.
Yeah, maybe we could perhaps pause and reflect a little bit of where this comes from, you know, and why this sort of thing is important.
Yes, and then by the end we're gonna have some time for questions, and we can also share our projects. The audience can share projects as well.
Because we could keep going on this activity for hours and hours or days.
That's the thing, yeah. And also, if you'd like to try this later, maybe inviting your family to gather and create something with you, you're very welcome to use the event hashtags that we are sharing in the screen as well.
Shall we just share all of our projects before we move on?
Mine is looking exactly the same. I've been working on this for hours. It's just like I can't glue this thing here. But I'll share it on Twitter at some point with the photo collage because I'm really inspired by Melanie. And so should we do something like that? Yeah, cool. At some point we'll have a screenshot of it.
That's beautiful, Karina. That's so cool.
I really love your projects. Big fan.
I think you should put in some of your drawings into your camera because your drawing is a big part of.
I have a bunch of things here, and one of the ideas that I had was doing this, here's to use it, and use it different lenses, and maybe writing on it what kind of lens I would take for life, things that are not exactly technical, but something that is nice, for example, curiosity and things like that. But so it's an ongoing project. It's gonna keep. I'm gonna keep improving it. And now I think it's time for us to share a little bit about the context for everything that we are doing today, right?
Yeah.
And also, so I'm gonna invite now Leo to.
And Leo, I don't know if we can go right into this. I know we also had some slides about our groups. We can maybe come back to our groups at the end. But I know you're transition here.
I can just go back if you just like to, stop where we are. So, can I go?
Is this where you want me to be?
No, the next one, please. So we organized this session thinking about how to bring hands-on creative learning into our houses and wherever we are. Whether we are in the pandemic or not, it's always important to exercise our creativity muscle. And we both RuPaul, Carolina, and myself, we are representing a couple of different organizations, like the Scratch Foundation, that developed the Scratch software that enable kids to create interactive art, presentations, simulations, games, and all sorts of things together. And we also represent the Lifelong Kindergarten Group from the MIT Media Lab. And the next slide. And the Brazilian Creative Learning Network is an organization that started about 5 years ago with the goals of trying to make education a little more hands-on, more creative, and more meaningful for everyone. And so the activity that we just played with right now that encourages us to think about memorable learning experiences is one kind of activity that we're very eager to support and encourage everybody to do at school, at home, or anywhere. And it's representative of an approach to learning that we call creative learning. And creative learning is something that's been studied at MIT for the past 50 years under different names, and can be described by what we call 4 P's of creative learning. If you want to see the screen larger, just double click on the screen. It might make it easier for you to have a better sense of the images that I'm showing. But the creative learning can be described according to 4 P's. And the first one is what we call project. We believe that people learn based on their interactions with the world, but we learn better when we are involved in the creation of something concrete, something that can be shared with other people, a project. And these projects can take many forms, can go all the way from writing a poem to organizing a play, to building a wooden house, to creating a computer game, think about a theory or even building like a sandcastle. As long as it's something shareable, that's considered a project. but not all projects have the same value when you think about creative learning. We place particular importance to projects that are meaningful to people who are creating them. Sometimes we might distribute kits and materials to our students and ask all of them to create like a house or some sort of thing that may or may not be really meaningful to them. But when people really engage in what they do, they go deeper. They connect with previous experiences, and the result is something that it's much more lasting and connected and applicable to their life experiences. So one of the indicators we use when we think about like organizing creative learning experiences is the diversity of projects that are generated by a single activity. So if we organize an activity and all the students end up producing something that's very similar, that activity wasn't as creative as it could be. However, if you propose like a theme and provide students with materials that really encourage their imagination, and they end up creating like 30 students end up creating 25, 30, or even more different kinds of projects, activity seems much more aligned with the spirit of creative learning. And that's the second P of creative learning, which is the P associated with passion, our connection with the thing that we're building. The third P of creative learning is the peers. We realize that for people to feel comfortable, exploring their ideas, it's very important for them to be in an environment that encourages sharing, that encourages collaboration, and that sort of thing. So that's the third P of creative learning. And the fourth P is play, and that's perhaps one of the most misunderstood of the four P's. By play, we understand the spirit of tinkering, of the free exploration that you usually associate with children when they're actually involved in their creation, when they're playing with one another. It's a moment where there's no right or wrong. They're flowing, they're diving deeper into their ideas, and they get excited about a material or something, and they change their mind. It's a very intense process of exploring and redoing and rethinking, rearranging the way we do things, and that's where creativity blossoms the most. When we allow ourselves to look at material with different eyes, and allow ourselves to connect things that are usually not connected together in the real world, and let our imagination grow wild. So when we think about designing environments for activities that encourage creative learning, always think about these four P's. When we create spaces where students or learners are encouraged to work on projects or build things that are meaningful to them, in a space that encourages collaboration and also encourages this sort of free exploration and tinkering. So these are the basic, in a very quick summary, the basic tenets of what we call creative learning. And we think this activity that we just invited you to join, the thinking, and building things that remind you of memorable learning experiences, one activity that encourages these four P's. When we, in general, in our activities, in our professional development workshops, we encourage a lot of hands-on tinkering and a lot of face-to-face interaction. But with the advent of the pandemic, we had to go beyond the face-to-face and physical and explore the space of distance learning and virtual environments and everything. And in the case of the Brazilian Creative Learning Network, we ended up starting some new initiatives. And Carol, would you like to go move to the next slide?
Yes, and I just wanted to say, the example of the four P's too, as we were sharing our projects, and then people were sharing theirs. So Megan and Javon and Melanie, and again, I apologize if I'm saying your name incorrectly, but I think all of the examples people were sharing showed that they were doing things with people they were connected with, working on things that they were really interested in a very playful way. So Javon was building forts and eucalyptus trees with his friends and his mom, all these things that have stuck with us. One of the reasons why we wanted you to think about them is for the connection of this framework that you so nicely talked us through. Thank you, Leah. Okay, so here's your next slide here.
So, as part of the Creative Learning Network, we started a couple of new initiatives during the pandemic, and things that we're gonna keep doing no matter what. The first of them is the Creative Learning at Home website. And this is a place. This is a website that is available currently in 3 different languages, like English, Portuguese, and Spanish. When you go there, you have access to 10 or 15 different kinds of activities that respect the 4 Ps that can be implemented using whatever material you have at home. And they go from creating a magazine cover, for a near distant future or for a topic that you like, to creating a band using kitchen utensils, or organizing a shadow theater using whatever materials you also have close to you. Another initiative that we started recently is Bora Criar, which is come create with us. And this was part of a collaboration with the Secretary of State, Education Secretary of State in the state of São Paulo. When they had to close the schools and send the kids home to learn at home, they start producing video lessons, that could be accessed either via TV or via app. And those lessons, the way we design them, they also capture the spirit of creative learning. It's not because you have to do remote learning that remote learning has to be passive. It's possible to do hands-on creative learning at a distance, and these lessons, they bring that to life. So if you want to switch to the next slide. So each one of our videos includes hands-on activity, similar to the ones we did today, right? We also invite people and do interviews with professionals that are very passionate about their profession. So in this case, we had an activity where kids were creating a magazine cover, and we invited a journalist to talk about what it means to become a journalist and things that you have to keep in mind, that sort of thing. And we also created a website for teachers that explain the ideas behind each lesson, and how they connect with Brazilian national curriculum. I'm going to switch to the next slide. And as I mentioned, the activities, you can use very simple materials. Some of them involve technology, but most of them do not require technology. We see technology as a material, as a very special material, that has its own properties, like the way Play-Doh has its own properties, computer has its properties, video has its properties, and everything. But unfortunately, not everybody has access to them. So we try to balance everything in a nice way. And so you can see some of the activities we have, if you go to our websites, include things that have to do with chain reaction, or a time capsule, or inviting kids to create a representation of their neighborhood or their city using cardboard, old cans, and sort of stuff. Creating magazines, doing interviews with their friends, or relatives. So it's a little gist of some of the things you may find on our website, but we'll be very, very curious to learn from you at some point what kind of activities you envision doing, your students, or that you've seen that might be in the same spirit of creative learning. And I would like to pass the ball to Rupal to talk to us a little bit about Scratch.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm always so inspired to hear all the great, creative, fun things that you all are up to in Brazil. And I learned so much. So these websites, again, I think we hope to make the recording will be available, but also the slides today, so that you can go ahead and visit some of these websites after if you'd like. And yeah, I wanted to share with you all a little bit more about Scratch. And Scratch is, in case you don't know, a free online platform where people all over the world create their own games, animations, and stories. And it's available for free online and also available offline as well. And in the past few months, we've been thinking a lot about how to use Scratch at home. And we've seen a huge amount of influx into the Scratch site. The kids and educators and families coming there to create and express themselves. So we have been working as a team on something called Scratch Month. Scratch at Home. And Scratch at Home is a series of activities that are available that you can go to this website that's a little long that's there. But when you go there, you can see some of the activities that you can do with Scratch at home. And like Leo was mentioning, some of these things include working on a Scratch project to tell a story. And some of the examples I'll share with you in a minute. Students and kids around the world were looking at materials around their homes and bringing those materials into their Scratch project. So here is some examples of the things that we saw happening during Scratch at Home. One of the projects that came from some colleagues actually in Spain was this idea of hack your window. And so in this, we had people taking pictures of their windows, using the paint editor in Scratch to delete the window panes, and then reimagining what would you want to see if you looked out your window. And this is a really fun example of someone taking their living room and turning it into a spacecraft. And so in this project, the whole living room shakes and kind of mimics a spacecraft. And I think Leo and Carolina, you were mentioning that there's a version of this that you all have tried in Brazil as well.
Yes, there is this project. It's a Facebook page where you go and there is this photographer, which is like, it wasn't, I wasn't the one who designed this, it was Thais, who is intern of Bora Criar. But she was really inspired by this photographer who were inviting people to look through their windows and see the world outside in a different way. So people were shooting, photos of their windows all over the world. And so she decided to, let's do this with kids. Let's ask them to create some craft project with a window and with a scene that they want to see outside. It's in the same spirit of Hacker Window, but Hacker Window is in Scratch. So you can do something with your computer, but also only using this low cost or no cost materials that you have at home.
Cool. Another thing we saw happening at Scratch at Home were people making Scratch projects to share the love, to animate a greeting, a way of sending some sort of message to someone. So we saw hundreds of Scratch projects thanking doctors or other workers that were supporting the community and staying safe and being healthy. And again, these were little ways of people to come on and express themselves and express ideas and make interactive greeting cards that they could then share with people they were thinking about. And a very different one was this recycle bin crafts, and I thought this was really sweet. So many different approaches to taking things around the home and turning them into something new, like we did this morning. In this example, we had a scratcher who looked at the recycling bin and saw all sorts of things and wanted to make this pencil robot. And so they kind of, robot pencil box, this is what they call it. They shared in their Scratch project the materials they used, and their Scratch project also walked you through step by step and how to make the robot pencil box. So it was using everyday materials, but then bringing them in a way to support others and making with them in Scratch. So those are some of the things that we played with during this past few months, trying to help bring Scratch at home. Another thing we've been thinking about is this project we're calling From Code to Cardboard. And we've been doing a lot of this thinking with our colleagues at the Tinkering Studio. I think some of them did a workshop yesterday. I think some of them are here as well. So hello, friends from the Tinkering Studio. And our colleague, Natalie Rusk at the Media Lab, has also been really steering this work to help us think of how do we take a generative prompt, like Leo was saying, an invitation, and really have it be something where people are focused less on how do I code without a computer and more on how do we create using all sorts of materials, because Scratch is really about being creative and expressing yourself. And so how do we bring that same mentality to all materials that you might have around you? So here's an example that we've been kind of working on. This was an invitation to create an animation. and we'll see if these videos work. So this is, making something move or change over time in using Scratch. Here, using everyday materials. So this is just a GIF I made of scissors I had put some eyes into and was opening and closing the scissors to animate the scissors. And then on the phone, using Stop Motion Studio, which is a free app that was playing with Play-Doh to make the Play-Doh change over time and go from this ball to this kind of worm to a heart. And so we've been thinking a lot more about how do we bring these kind of, again, generative ideas, generative prompts across materials from Scratch and everyday materials at home to what you can do on your phone. So that's something we are excited to keep working on. And I know that we wanted to kind of pause and see if there was any questions that people had coming in. I know that people are sharing some great stories and other things, but I'm going to stop sharing my screen to see if we can take a few questions. Oh, okay. Megan, you saw that we had up on the screen some information about LCL, so let me put it back up on the screen so we can share with you. Here we go. So, yes, Megan caught that we have our next round of Learning Creative Learning. Actually, Carolina, do you want to talk about Learning Creative Learning?
Yeah, sure. So we have this amazing community of learners of creative learning around the world. And it's a course, it's a community, it's totally open and free. And everybody's really welcome to join us this next round of Learning Creative Learning that will start on October 19th. And in this course, we go through like the 4 Ps that Leo was explaining about the creative learning framework, the creative learning spiral, all the research about it, like readings and stuff. And you're very welcome to, to join the course in the path that you want. Like you can, really do the readings, watch the videos, and also participate in the activities. Or you can participate in the activities, participate in the live events that we also host. And it's a really playful, fun, engaging environment to learn. And it's becoming a community more and more, and you're very welcome to join us on this date. And you can go to the website and subscribe, and then you're going to have this invitation to join us on October 19th.
I will say, one of the most fulfilling and joyful learning communities I've ever been a part of. I love learning creative learning, and if you've done it before, you can always come back and do it again. You get to meet new people, and some of the sessions this past spring, remember being in a room and making a project with someone who's in Turkey and in Brazil and Denmark and South Africa. It's a really unique experience to be in such a global creative space. So I think that's part of it that people might not know, that you get to really learn and create with people from all over the globe. And while maybe we're waiting for some other questions, I wonder if there's other things that we'd want to share, maybe some of the work that we're doing with educators or with families. And I can share stuff, or if you all have stuff to share too, let me know.
Maybe we could share the book.
Oh yeah, great. Go ahead, Leo.
So that Mitchell Resnick, the head of the Laughing Kindergarten Group and one of the masterminds behind the creative learning movement, he published a book a couple of years ago called From Kindergarten, Cultivating Creativity Through Projects, Passion, Peers, and Play. That's available online bookstores and anywhere. But it's also available in multiple languages now. And in fact, we just released it in Brazil a couple of months ago. But it's and we really encourage you to read a book because it reflects about 20 years of experiences and projects around the world trying to bring these ideas to life. A lot of the topics of the book are also explored as part of the Learning Creative Learning class.
Lisa was just mentioning in the chat, if you'd like to come on screen to ask your question, or if you want to show us like your creation, we would love to see them. So please don't be shy. We'd love to have you join us on screen. And also we know that can be comfortable or uncomfortable for different people. So if you want to just tag, and we'll put up the hashtags again. And these are our Twitter handles if you want to follow us for Scratch, for Lifelong Kindergarten, and the Brazil Creative Learning Network. We can also put them again in the chat. But these hashtags, if you do take a picture or video of your project and post it somewhere on social media, it would be great for us to then be able to see it and comment and learn from what you made. So yeah, Megan's calling on Javon here to share what. So be great, close friends. Maybe while we're waiting, I can share a couple of other things. I'm going to stop sharing for a second and get to a different slide here. I think we sometimes are asked what kind of things do we have to support educators with some of the things we were talking about. I think the websites that we have pointed to have a lot of different resources for educators. But I did want to share that if you are an educator or even a parent wanting to support your young person at home with Scratch, there's a great website. So you can go to scratch.mit.edu/educators, and there you'll see all sorts of different resources, tutorials and cards to kind of bring some ideas and prompts that you might use when supporting a young person making with Scratch. So that is a great place to start. And again, additional plug for the Learning Creative Learning course as another way of learning more about these ideas and how to support young people with them. Thank you, Carolina.
Just to emphasize that, even though we spend a lot of time creating materials, and lessons and examples, that sort of thing, the community aspect of our work is at least as important or more than anything else we do. Especially in times of COVID, when everybody is kind of at loss, trying to figure out new ways of interacting with students or bringing learning to life, having opportunity to interact with other educators, to see what people are doing, what kind of solutions they're exploring, or just to give a little bit of moral support. It goes a long way. As part of the Creative Learning Network, we invite people, we organize like an online creativity at circles, we invite educators to come online and ask their questions, share the things that they're working on, and just see one another. And that's very, very important. We highly encourage people to do the same.
We have a guest.
Good morning.
Good morning, Megan.
Hello.
All right. Since I called out my friend Javon to share, I think I should share.
Yeah.
It's 3 hours earlier, so it's really early. She's in California.
Oh, okay.
So I just had my coffee. So what I did, I knew what I wanted to talk about was that experience with my friend's father who was an artist, and he's still creating. And I actually grew up playing soccer, so he was our soccer coach. So I had this dual relationship with him, but he really influenced me as a creative because I had that experience. So I don't know if you guys can see. Oh, there's going to be a reflection, but basically I'll share this on social media. Yeah, the reflection's gonna. I went into Canva, which template. It had a template for an infographic on Chicago already. So what I did was I just started changing the content, and then I put in it had facts about Chicago, but I labeled it artistic freedom and the freedom of creativity, and then my headlines were play, and then underneath that childhood best friend, and then Ginger's dad, who was an artist, and it says art, artist, creativity, flow, freedom. Then it says freedom to explore then another heading is ambiguity. Nobody telling me what to do, so I created from scratch. And I mean, this was probably an experience I had probably like right when critical thinking was developing, like third, fourth grade. And then I put on fun facts about creativity. There's no right or wrong answer. And then I have a little image of inspire. And then find what activates you and dive in. And then I have a picture of a diver. Because you can put on Canva, you can put little images in. And then I said creativity is courageous, pass it on. And then there's a light bulb with a brain. I don't know if you can see that. Yeah. Oh, look
yes, I can see it.
See that now?
Yes, it's beautiful.
So I think the most important part of that experience for me was that I was exposed to a real artist, but there was no like, okay, we're going to paint today, follow my lead. I mean, he kind of was, I mean, it was a product of the 80s, you know, like here we are, we're in the city, he was going to work, because he actually did commercial art for Disney, and I mean, he still has big clients, but he was just like, have the run of it, and it was a big warehouse. And I mean, there was paint everywhere. I remember Ginger, she wasn't really into art, but like she was my friend, so we played and goofed off and kind of got into trouble. I mean, we got scolded for like sometimes, but really the run of the place was the exciting part because it was a warehouse deep in the city, and we would come in from the suburbs, so we'd hop in the van, the soccer van, and we'd go there, and it was just really. I don't know, it was just such a powerful experience. I'm still in touch with that family, and I've told him that he was, a big part of that. And I think I need to write like an essay to thank him, because it really had an effect on me. And plus, he was like a second dad, you know, I slept over there. But thanks for letting me share.
Thanks for sharing, Megan.
Thank you for sharing.
Yes.
Yeah, my friend Javon, I'm going to give her a shout out. She's an artist, so I'm like really curious what she actually created. A very detailed artist.
All right, so the stakes are high now. Yeah, very high.
Yeah, the stakes are high. She's like 3
Just a
hours.
smile.
It's early in California. I'm going to leave now, though. But
Okay.
thank you.
Bye, Megan. Nice to meet you.
Thank you, Megan.
And also just we would love to see what you make. No pressure. And also, as Leo said, too, like messy, unfinished things are good too. You know, this is all about a tool to help us self-reflect and to think and to express and to share, versus like more so than like a polished thing that has to be perfect, right? We wanted to use these tools to share and to think together. But yeah, I can't see hours going by so fast.
I know.
And I just want to add like one final remark, just to say that this is really fun and doesn't require much in terms of materials. It's not expensive, and we wonder why we cannot do this sort of activities more often in schools, because they help us think, they help us express ourselves in many ways, and they also connect with curriculum or different topics that teachers might be exploring that, in a formal education. For instance, in the different activities we did today, RuPaul's example connects with history, connects with design, connects with everything. She can write stories about that. She can. It generates, sparks curiosity in so many dimensions. That it's hard to understand why is it that we can run this more often in our schools, even in more underserved areas, that we work with, like in Brazil. Even the activity that I did here, reflecting about where we live, try to represent things that are important to us and contrasting that with other students and other things. Also, open space for good discussions about all sorts of topics, and Carolina's perspective. You can go to think about the physics of photography to personal expression, passing through so many other areas of interest, that connect more directly with students. So it looks fun. It is fun, but it's also nutritious. It sparks a lot of things in ourselves, and may also connect with formal curriculum and more. I didn't want to let that pass, because sometimes we think that this is play, but what is the meaningful learning really happening? And it's all connected. We cannot, separate one from another.
I love that, Leo. And I see some questions coming in about like how do we kind of support this in taking root in classrooms? And one thought I was having was sometimes if this isn't a way that you're familiar in designing or facilitating learning, it can feel daunting. But maybe thinking about it, I like to think of it as like little tweaks that we can make versus a leap or a jump. Maybe you're not ready to leap or jump into it, but maybe there's a tweak you can make. So thinking of a project or an assignment or something you might give students, and how might you open it up so that there's different ways that they could represent those ideas. So instead of like a book report, maybe they can create a model of something, right? Like you're opening up, and maybe that's a small tweak that you make. And I also think we often talk about how important it is for educators to have experiences of learning like this themselves, so they feel the power of them, and they then can see what it feels like to learn this way, and then design and facilitate learning experiences in that way. And so I know we often talk about, that's why like learning creative learning to me is so special, because you as an educator get to feel what is it like to be in a creative learning community, and then think, okay, how do I bring this into my classroom practice? But so my two things on those questions are, feed your own heart and practice and try and be a part of a learning experience that does this for yourself. And then what are some small tweaks you can make to start just playing and testing out some of these things in your classroom? And I'm curious if you all have anything else to add on that.
Yes, I think we said that we were going to come here and play today, and that was the intention, like to play with everyone, to invite other educators and other profiles involved with education to have this experience, to explore a little bit of these possibilities with us, and then of course like sharing just a little bit of our resources. But we are here especially to engage with all of you, to connect, to share resources. I saw that some people also connected to things that they are doing in their own initiatives. So we are very curious to learn more about it. And yes, we do have to invest in this professional development with educators. And every time that every opportunity that we have to connect this professional development to who we are, to who these educators are, and in order to, connect them to their own context and connect creative learning into, the reality that they are having at school or outside school, is very important to us. So yes, like RuPaul said, it was like something that we intentionally brought today in order for everyone to experience that and to understand a little bit how this could feel for a student.
I hope this is the first of many conversations we might have, in different forums and spaces, that we showed here. I'm looking forward to hear more from you about you and your projects.
Yes, I can't believe the time has already come and gone. And so I put again our Twitter handles here. If there's other questions or thoughts that you have, we'd love to keep hearing from you all. I see that there's a couple more questions, like maybe we can take one or two more here. And I guess, Lisa, if that's okay with you, if it's taking a little bit more time, I know that we're over our time a little bit. The question is, how would you recommend that children or students share their creative learning products to deepen their connections? I think this is so important, this aspect of connection and sharing. Sharing is such an important part of that reflective process, and also in the motivation. And we see that a lot on Scratch. That's a big part of why Scratch has this very vibrant online community, where people are sharing their projects and others are watching their projects, liking them, remixing them, also giving them comments and suggestions, and how important that is. So, definitely just again want to say, like, Scratch could be a great place for that. But curious to hear your thoughts, Leo and Carolina, if there's others that you have.
Like we work with many communities that do not have access to technology on a regular basis, and but we think that it's, especially depending on the age, it's very important for kids to share with people that are meaningful to them, So like to share with their relatives, their families, or close friends. Sometimes might organize a little play in front of your house, put something on the window, or read a story to somebody that's close to you. That's part of sharing, and it's so very important that we don't forget that.
Yeah, exactly. How can we share projects that we do at home with low access to technology? So, and this is part of like sharing with our peers, right? Who we are living with, who do we, who are in our daily life. So like, yes, sharing with our family, with our friends, and even inviting them, to create with us would be something really important. And
I saw the other day school where they invited kids to create little models for their community, and the kids, they brought their models to the school parking lot, so that the parents and families, they came through the parking lot seeing, the models that the kids had created. It's, we all have to adapt to these modern times, and I thought it was interesting the way they managed to put everything together.
With my daughter, I've been thinking about this too, because it's been hard for a toddler to be home away from friends during this time, and so we a few friends of mine who have kids of similar age, we've been kind of getting them together and sharing kind of an idea. So maybe it's like shadows, and we have a kind of a text thread, or you could think of WhatsApp too, like where my daughter and I will be walking. She's like, "Oh, that's a shadow," and I'll give her my phone, and with her we take a picture of it, and then we send it to all the friends and say, "We found this shadow when we were walking today," and someone will then share their shadow, and it's kind of this thing that through just text message, we're having this ongoing communication and wondering about our neighborhood as we take walks. So like little ways. I mean, that still uses technology, but in like using mobile to just kind of use that as a sharing way for kids to keep thinking about these ideas and having a way to share with each other.
Yeah.
I see. What platform are you using for young children? And Scratch is something that we mentioned before. So Scratch is the platform that we're using, and there's kids. It's really more suited for, I think, 7, 8 years or older, but there are young kids on there. There's also Scratch Junior, which is another way of having kids create. And Scratch Junior does not have like the community aspect of it, but again, you could share a project or a link or photos of it, or share with people around your house. Do you all have any sense of that question for your work? What platform are you using for young children?
So for creative learning at home, we have this website that is responsive, but it's something that we understand that if it's a younger kid, it's gonna need like its parents or its family to bring this. But at the same time, I was thinking one thing that we have been trying to think of right now is how to bring these ideas that we usually bring with the Scratch activities into something that is completely offline, or at least not using computers at all. And we want to, we don't want to bring like only the computer science aspect of it, but mainly like the creative aspect of this. So, for example, there is this really popular activity in Scratch that is animate a name. Like everybody is introduced to animate a name when you start exploring in Scratch, and this is really meaningful. Like you think of a word of someone that you really love and try to animate that name, right? And how can we bring this to an offline aspect of it? How can we, create something and at the same time but like maintaining the idea, maintaining the aspect of creation. And so this is the kind of idea that we are thinking for younger kids in Brazil, like yes, using Scratch as well, but Scratch, we know that not every school have access to it, especially public schools. So we've been trying to mix with other things like craft materials, like really simple electronic components, like, you know, LEDs and batteries and things like that that are more accessible. And yeah, I don't know, I want to read the comments and I can't do it.
Some different resources, like Megan mentioned, also Flipgrid is a great platform I put in the chat, and we've also like tried Padlet. And actually, I think Carolina, you had suggested maybe we would have even tried Padlet today, but we decided to not do that. But Padlet, do you want to share anything about Padlet, Carolina? Why you were excited by it?
So Padlet is so cool because you can share can share images, videos, texts, reflections, and links, anything that you'd like. And we have been thinking a lot of bringing to our resource, like for example the portal of the Creative Learning Network in Brazil, this space for people to share their stories, their experiences, their memorable learning moments, you know. And it seems like, I mean, I'm not talking about Padlet itself, but the idea of it is really powerful. Like, how can you put many people in the same screen, sharing different projects or different aspects of it or their experiences in the same frame, right? And that is it's really nice to capture people's attention, but mainly to be this sharing tool that we think we would like to have. I don't know if you have more time. Yeah, we do have 3 minutes.
I see Chris is sharing a few different things. First, Chris shared their project from today, linked to Twitter. So I think way back in the chat, there's a cool spinny little video of the thing that Chris created, and love to learn more about that. And then also Chris has shared some link to a kind of craft and Scratch project that our colleague Celeste at University of Colorado in Boulder is working on. So many things happening in the chat, but yeah, I can't believe we're already over our time now, and so grateful to have learned so much from people today, and very excited to see if you wouldn't mind sharing your project with us on social media.
Mine's broken.
Yeah. Yay. And our Twitter handles are there, and love to stay in touch with you all and continue to learn from the things you're trying to bring creative learning at home and how you support educators, families, and learners with it.
Let's stay in touch.
Definitely. Let's keep in touch. Thank you so much, everyone. This was great. So nice to see you all here. And let's continue working on our projects and having this conversation in other opportunities.
Yes.
Have a wonderful day and enjoy the rest of the awesome sessions coming up. I see there's another one in about 15 minutes. So hope you all enjoy that. And yay, thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.